thanks for downloading this episode from Teachers Talk Radio. You can find the full schedule and listen back to all our shows at ttradio.org. Enjoy the podcast.
We're here.
Hello. Look at you little festive self. I wish I'd dressed up. I didn't get the memo.
I'm meant to be the Grinch in this double act, but I mean, they're already annoying me because they're jingly. For those of you who are not indulging in the visual side to mine and Hannah's antics, I am wearing gold antlers that have little bells on them, purely because I, as a primary teacher, have a small collection of things because I am forced to. No, because, you know, 'tis the season. And as much as, you know, I have mixed feelings about it, as those seasoned TTR listeners will know. I have a sort of sense of if you can't beat them, then you must join them. So yes. So it's the Tuesday Late Show once again. And how are you doing, Hannah?
I'm all right. I'm exhausted. I'm not going to lie. I had year 11 reports last week. This week I have 7, 8s, 9s and 10s due, with parents' evening on Thursday for year 11s just to boot. I must just say the parents' evening a couple of weeks out before Christmas feels a bit on the, hard to find the energy to be able to do it properly. I'm not going to lie, and also I'm on the countdown. I've got 2 weeks tomorrow, and then I officially leave education and teaching. Well, not education. I'm still in education. I just leave teaching. So it's a bit of a surreal one. It's a bit of a bittersweet. When I counted the number of lessons I had with kids today, it was a bit like, I'm not ready to say goodbye to the kids yet, but I'm ready to say goodbye to the workload. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it does seem, and we're going to be talking sort of a lot about Christmas this evening and about kind of how schools celebrate and sort of where we fit into all this. But it does seem like in the last sort of few weeks of term, they do tend to try and pack in as much as humanly possible. And I want to go into the message you sent me prior to this show this evening. But before we do that, let's get our sponsors in first, and then we can unpack the joys, if you like. Joys. Let's go with joys. I'm going to cheer up now. Joys of Christmas. First up, we have our old faithful John Catt Educational, who have been with us for a long, long time now, and we do appreciate them wholeheartedly. And as you can see, Hannah pointing to our lovely little banner there. If you go to johncattbookshop.com, there is a huge, wide catalogue of education-based, I should say, books to choose from. And you can apply the discount code JCTTR2425 for 20% off anything. So if you want to treat yourself, 'tis the season, whatever you celebrate, whether it's Christmas or indeed something else, it's the time of year where you deserve something. And so you can treat yourself or the teacher in your life. So do go and check that out. We also have Parent Kind, who are a national charity representing parent views and voice and champion parent participation in education and school life. They foster strong school parent partnerships. And they believe that they can boost attendance and improve behavior and enhance academic performance. And this can be done when parents actively participate. And I know we talk about this a lot. Join the movement that is reshaping education for the better. Visit parentkind.org to learn more about reaping the rewards of working in partnership with parents. Now, speaking of parents, Hannah, you fall into both the categories here of parent and teacher. And to start off, I mean, I don't really want to start on a negative, but I'm sure we can spin this. Of course, schools, and I think particularly primary schools, do get quite excited at this time of year. And in doing so, suddenly seem to think that everything is a good idea, whether it's shows, fairs, jumper days, you name it. And I just would like you to share, if you're happy to, with me what you shared just before we came on air from your son's school. What is meant to be happening in the next, was it 2 weeks, did you say?
Yeah, well, this is the thing. There's loads. So they have an app, and we have appointments and events, which is very exciting. But also, it takes me while to go through them all with the amount of things that they've got on. We've got a Mufti Day coming up on the 9th of December, and then we've got the Christmas Fair on the 12th of December, and then we've got Christmas Jumper Day on the 13th of December, and then they've got a trip on the 16th of December, and then a church service on the 18th of December. So it's very full on. But the letter we got came through today. There was 2 separate ones, and I just double checked, they did come through today. So the first one is part of the fair. They're asking for basically a Secret Santa donation that they're going to wrap, and you kind of get a prize and stuff, because they're trying to raise money for the schools. I very much appreciate this. Like when they had the fireworks display, it was brilliantly run. And they had a school Mufti Day for that, and the kids brought in a box of chocolate or sweet, and they tombolaed those in return for the kids wearing their own clothes. You donated that, and I kind of like that more than kind of paying to wear them. So they're asking for donations for that, which I'm more than happy to do. I can donate something. I've got the unwanted gift box that can go for that. But then added onto this, bear in mind, we've just heard about what my week is going to be like coming up, and now I've got to try and find time to do this because I am away at the weekend for my nephew's 21st. So I'm not home. So the first thing, the school council are running a Christmas fancy dress competition on Thursday the 12th, where children are invited to wear Christmassy homemade costumes or accessories. This could be a hat, necklace, funky hair. A winner will be chosen from each group by the school council, and competition entries is 50p. So I'm like, I've been told on the 3rd that I've got to do this for the 12th. And not only that, I've got to pay for the privilege. And it has to be homemade. I would much rather throw money at a ready-made costume that I could then pop on Vinted and or eBay or any other reselling platform is available, and be gone and pass it on to the next mother that feels a little bit shit about working but actually just wants their child to have fun. So I have messaged my mother and passed this on. This has gone straight to grandma. But then she's now given me jobs to do in order to be able to provide her with the things to be able to do the extravagance that is her. So I've come home, I've had to find 2 balls of different sizes and a headband that I'm now taking to her tomorrow, and she's going to wrap them in wadding and make a snowman hat kind of thing on a headband that will go on my son's head. And hopefully the snowman will not be decapitated at any point and everyone will be fine. So that is what I've got to do for the 12th. On top of that, we got another message today. So these weren't sent in the same one. This is a separate message because I can't keep. It just annoys me when there are lots of different messages about the same thing. On that day, they're also running a DT Christmas competition. Now, as an art and DT teacher, I very much like the fact that DT is being represented. But they are holding a Christmas themed cake competition also on Thursday the 12th. The winner will be chosen from each group, will receive a prize. Please place all entries in the hall, label them, and after they're going to sell the cakes at the Christmas fair. So I've got to make a cake for the competition, and then they're going to be sold thereafter. So on that Thursday, I've got to make cake, and I've got to get my child in some kind of homemade gear to go in, because I don't want him to be the only child that's not, because I've already bear in mind we've got 2 more Mufti days that I've got to try remember. Out of the 4 we've had since September, I've forgotten 2, so I am like 50-50, but if I remember the other 2, I feel like I'm on 2/3 and I've maybe redeemed myself. But the fact that I've now got to do a cake and a costume, and I feel like the Grinch. I feel like I'm turning to you, Lucy. I feel like the Grinch. I feel like, why are we putting all this pressure on parents? Why are we having all of these things? And then there's a Mufti Day, and then a Christmas Jumper Day. Like, surely they're the same thing. Do we need? And then I'm from the secondary school where it's like we're teaching to the end, and yeah, I don't know. I'm a bit on the fence. I feel like obviously we should celebrate Christmas. We should have a bit of fun. And I can feel like normally I'm a bit grinchy. I'm like, no, I plan my lessons right to the end. And I'm a bit like, I have got some really fun art lessons that are Christmas based, but I kind of save them in case I need cover or what have you. And I'm like, actually, it'd be really nice to do those and have a bit of a relax and I feel like the fun has gone out of education a little bit. Like, where is those bits where, because it's as much creating community and bonding and relationships as it is, and the kids having fun and having that joy as much as it is working them to the bone. Like, it is kind of a balance. So yeah, I'm a bit like, I feel like there's OTT Christmas celebrations, and then there's kind of, basically you're not allowed to put video on under any circumstances.
I sort of, I mean, I've kind of flip-flopped on this sort of over the years, but again, I am your resident primary teacher in this double act, and there is a belligerent part of me that kind of gets to maybe that final few days, because often you finish on a Wednesday at this time of year, which is weird as well, where I kind of get to the point of almost turning around to whichever member of SLT walks in and say, you are welcome to teach them. You are welcome to try. I think anything more than on those last couple of days, no, you're not going to get away with it. And you shouldn't really, even at primary level. But I'm sorry, those last couple of days where you are hanging on, where you've done your shows, you've done your fairs, you've done you've sold whatever kind of delights the kiddos have made, because again, it's lovely, and parents will pay for all manner of tat, as we know. Tat, I mean creations. Sorry.
Slip of the tongue there.
Yeah, that was accidental. No, it wasn't. But yeah, this whole kind of teach to the end. I hear you to an extent, but I also think, believe it or not, I think there probably are some older children who actually, a bit of mindful colouring at the day or two before the end of term. I think you'd be surprised how many would actually go for it. I mean, Hannah, I don't know kind of in terms of your
this
students.
Is my thing. I have my year nines do a history of art unit where they look at a range of different artists through time, and they are currently designing their own trainers based on different artists that they've studied through the various different movements. So I have a worksheet that is design a different bauble based on the different artists that they've learn. So they have to design a Christmas bauble, and some of them are sculptures, so they've got to try and make the bauble look 3D and use those tone and stuff. So I'm like, I do think there are lessons where you can make it relevant, but then also if I was to do that, I would feel a bit guilty, like I wasn't teaching properly. But actually it's a lovely lesson, and I've got some a friend that designed this amazing kind of paper bird that the kids can make and then take home, and they put it online during lockdown, and it's everyone does it every year, and it's really amazing watching all these amazing kind of designs come through. So I think there's a bit of that. When I would sneakily sneak in a video, I bought, my students were studying Vincent van Gogh, and I bought the DVD of the video where they painted something like 30,000 paintings and then animated the paintings to make it about all of his life and his paintings. So if I am going to put one in, I kind of put that in, because then I think that's such an amazing thing to watch, and kids probably, no one in their family's bunging on at home unless they've got a boring old art teacher for a parent. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm like, and actually it's quite nice sitting and watching that. And they are tired. I'm tired. They're tired. The weather is rubbish. It is dark. Actually, is sitting and spending the afternoon doing that a bad thing? No. I wish I had kind of kept it in my planning, but I took it all out, and I like the last couple of years I haven't done it, and I do kind of miss that area. And I don't think it is slacking as teachers. I think it's kind of adjusting and adapting and adding a different experience to education.
Yeah, and I think that, there are, over the years, and I think part of my ever-increasing kind of beef with Christmas, if you like, is that it is so commercialized, that and even if we're not going to talk about the religious, the Christian element necessary, because I think, there are people who celebrate it for that reason, but I think, it's bigger than that. And actually Christmas and Hanukkah coincide this year, which is first time in a long time. So that's quite interesting as well. I think there are so many opportunities at this time of year to revisit certain things and to think about the true meaning of things. And I sort of, sound like the kind of the end of a sort of Christmas film here, but there are so many teachable moments, when it comes to it. Certainly you can obviously look at the the Christian side and where it came from, even the sort of the pagan element and Yuletide, which I really like and really have sort of uh read a lot about in recent times, which is super cool. But also just kind of, certainly with younger children, talking about certain values, talking about perhaps those who aren't as fortunate as themselves, but also giving children who in your school who may as well not be heading off for a lovely kind of traditional fun time, maybe kind of sort of making sure that their last few days in school before they go home are just that little bit more joyful than maybe they otherwise would be. And I think that it is nice to do that, and it can be done in so many ways. There's so many creative things as well. And as much as glitter on the carpet absolutely haunts me, and you're picking it out of everywhere for the rest of the year, these, particularly with a lot of creativity being squeezed out of the curriculum as well, as we well know, why not have and I don't think you should even use it as an excuse to. I don't even want to see it used as an excuse. I know when we talked about curriculum last week that we were talking about our ideal things. I think, high days and holidays, irrespective of where you come from, and your faith background or whatever it is, there are a lot of festivities that happen at this time of year, regardless. And it's nice to just celebrate that and embrace that and have that as part of a curriculum. And I'm really scared that we're going to lose that, and then it gets kind of overtaken by too much tat and what are you getting and what have you asked for, and things like that, and Whamageddon, which,
and I think there's almost like a slight lesson that I heard somebody talk about, and I think it's really interesting, that and almost like going out. I think I don't know whether it was a school that sent it out to parents, but I heard it the other year and I thought it was really important that they were talking about how Santa, to ask parents not to give the big expensive present from Santa, to write that it's from the parent, so that the kids from less fortunate households, when they don't get the big presents, they don't think that, oh, Santa doesn't love me as much, Santa, I've not been as good as those kids, and kind of creating that divide even bigger. And I just think that's like, if you as a school can consciously think about your demographic and whether that's something that you could pitch to parents, or like quite often, I think it was in a head teacher letter to parents that was done. And I think that's quite an interesting one to kind of consider from a school point of view. This is an opportunity to try and close that gap a little bit if you can.
Oh, most definitely. And I think that, and again, I mean, I've worked in a variety of environments, but particularly in the last few years where I've been in, international private schools where, there is a lot of money and there is a lot of wealth, and kids do go away at Christmas, and, the vast majority, if not all of them, are going to do pretty well out of the festive season. And, again, I wonder if that's maybe contributed to me finding it kind of a bit more jarring in recent times, and trying to, I have tried, and quite successfully, to kind of bring it back to sort of time together, and let's have fun, let's create things, let's do shows and all the rest of it. Even if this is something we'll come back to in a moment, even if show rehearsals are the bane of my existence at this time of year.
Yeah, we'll have to circle back round to shows. I also think it's quite interesting thinking about how, as a school, you do kind of presents and stuff, because I think some kids can feel left out and things like that. But I found as a teacher as well that I get far less Christmas cards than what I used to. Like years ago, probably I'm going to go pre-COVID, I would get like a whole entire desk full. I would hang them up when I get home. I would get so many Christmas cards from my students, and I love them. Like I love reading that little note saying thank you, and some of them I still keep and have from the students that have made an effort. Like I had a student a few years ago write me a Christmas card that was literally like, I hate school, but you're the only reason I come to school, and like I just want to say thank you because you make the dark days less dark. And I just like, oh, I love it. Like, this is why I do what I do, and it is an opportunity to do that. And I think as parents, but also kind of, we also need to encourage students to do that or give them time to do it. And that's one of the best things about my school is they actually do it termly. They give up the kids postcards, and every term they have to write a thank you, and then they all get handed into their tutor, and then they all get put in the office, and then they get kind of spread out around the teachers, and the kids all kind of, all the thank you messages go to all the teachers. I find it really funny that the behaviour unit are the ones that get the most thank you cards. So the little naughty kids that are always hanging out and getting sent to the behaviour unit, they actually like, even though those teachers are like going nuts at them for being kicked out of lessons, and they're not, I'm not saying they're going over there and having a jolly, because my school is hard. Those kids are going over there and getting a rollicking. That like, when I saw how many of my kids had said thank you to that person, I was like, that's quite an interesting concept. They clearly very much respect them, even if they are giving them a rollicking, and like literally, like, it's amazing watching her go because it's like she's done so well. So it's like, yeah, it's quite interesting that actually that's the person they're thanked most. And I had one the other term that told me I was rad, so I'm like, yes, I'm clearly rad. So yeah, but I just think it's a really nice process. And also, like, but there can be the odd kids when I don't there's no one to thank. I was like, no, genuinely, like, what's been your favourite lesson this term? And I don't think there is enough of that reflective practice. Like, what are you genuinely grateful for? Like, what are you thankful for? Because actually, there's kids in this world that would fight to have your education. There's certainly girls in different parts of this world that don't have that privilege to have an education. And actually, this is the platform to actually say to these kids, you are lucky to be able to have this education. This is a time of year, yes, we give presents and it's exciting, but it's also a part of the year where we should be very grateful for everything that we've done. Also with the new year, it's kind of a new fresh start. This is your opportunity to show a bit of gratitude and write a card and say thank you to a teacher or like a fellow student or anything like that as well. I just think that's important.
And I know we get a lot of sort of, almost kind of sort of naff things in Instagram, although I quite like them, kind of, talk about practicing gratitude and things like that. I actually think you're right. We don't do it enough in, whether it's us, whether it's kids. And again, I do think that this time of year is a really good time to, reinforce is the wrong, to reiterate that and to remind everybody that, we're all working hard here. It's not quite perfect. We're not aiming for perfection, but we're here, we're together. We get to be together, 5 out of every 7 days. And that's pretty cool. And, no one's asking for you to, every teacher to be your favorite or every subject to be your favorite. But I do think there is a loss of appreciation amongst students sometimes and amongst ourselves. Amongst our colleagues, we're all rushing around. We're not taking the time often to sort of just, and I'm not sort of suggesting, you all need to kind of be sort of clapping each other on the back and go, job well done, but just a kind of an acknowledgement of, I see you, I'm in it with you, and, I respect what you do, you respect what I do, let's get to the end together.
As a tutor as well, I find it quite interesting finding the kids that, like, I don't quite know where they fit in the school, like, because it's like there's some kids that you just can't click with, and I have the ability to click with most kids, and I really try hard to build those relationships. That's why they're not a problem for me. But there are those kids that you kind of seeing who they write thank you cards for. I'm like, okay, that's where they're happy. And like, I think it's the kids that can't write and can't work out where it is that they fit within the school, or actually it's quite a good exercise in that as well, and finding your kind of most vulnerable and finding out who needs a bit more support. But also from that respect, it's kind of, I find that the Christmas thing is quite difficult because I think everyone's so happy, so cheery and so excited about it that people forget that there are going to be kids in that school, in every school, that are going to be dreading having that time at home. They're going to be dreading Christmas Day when dad is drunk and raring and all sorts is going on in that house, and they are going to be so worried about it. And I think this is the thing, like this whole happy, cheery countdown to Christmas, yay, actually can be quite like, that's why sometimes I'm like, do we need to go to this extent? By all means, have a lovely, great last day or a couple of days, but does it need to be this long-winded kind of countdown thing, and actually maybe potentially be adding to some of these kids' anxiety as well?
I mean, I think that's been exacerbated a lot by sort of, seeing Christmas ads on TV, seeing that Christmas stuff is now coming into the supermarket even before Halloween. And it's just, I think it's in your face from so early now that there's almost kind of Christmas fatigue. And I know, and again, I think this is part of where my kind of Grinchdom comes from, in that for us, in school, and certainly, I mean, I don't know if it's perhaps worse in a primary level, but of course, as soon as kind of that October half term is done, you are into those song rehearsals, show rehearsals for Christmas. So you've been doing Christmas since early November. So by the time I was getting home in the holidays and having to celebrate Christmas with my family, I'm tapped out. I'm done. Like, I've been doing this for a lot longer than, you have. And I'm not trying to kind of, compete here and be like, I'm kind of, and I'm not trying to be a kind of an a-hole when I do go home. But I am kind of at the point where I just want my chocolate orange, my cup of tea, and to sulk in a corner. And I think my family at this point, knowing that I've kind of been teaching for sort of 10 years at this point, I've kind of blessed them, loved them, have got the hint, and they are pretty good with me. I mean, I do try and rally for them because my mum enjoys it, and I don't want to spoil it for them. But I mean, I do think that teacher tired, because I always find that this particular stint, the post-October half term to Christmas, is the worst part in terms of tiredness, in terms of overload, overwhelm, overstimulation for for the neurodivergent and the non-neurodivergent among us. I think it is overstimulating, overwhelming, and it is a lot. It is a lot. Having said that, though, I think there is a balance to be struck, as you say. And, I think some schools are perhaps more mindful about it than others. Whereas I think, listening into what your son's school are doing, I think someone somewhere has gone, oh, these are all lovely ideas, let's just try and make as many of them happen as possible, without kind of thinking, hang on a minute.
In my school's defense, that is the parent group as opposed to the school itself. And the parent group are amazing, but I think also they're like, let's do this, let's do that, that's a great idea, let's do that, rather than thinking less is more. Sometimes less is more.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, and again, there are, parents have to be mindful as well, because there will be those parents who can create fantastic costumes and will have the time. And there will be those parents who might not even read the communication from the school. And so,
normally, to be fair. And the thing is, the thing that annoys me, it's normally me that doesn't read it until the last minute. In my defense, the other week, it hadn't updated. So I had all of the events from the start of October, and I had to go through 3 screens to get to where I currently was, when it was meant to delete it and go in the history. So I missed a load of stuff because I basically scrolled down and I was like, oh, I missed that flu thing, I'll fill in that. And then I didn't go back and keep scrolling. But I think that school has acknowledged, like, this app isn't working, so they're updating it and getting a different one. So it's interesting in that respect. But I think it is that kind of thing of, there's so much to do. It's working out what is right for your students and what can work, but also not adding to that workload and kind of going for it. But we all know, if for those of you that haven't seen it, I love a costume, and I did the Teach Talk Radio mascot at the BET conference last year. So go through the archives and see that gem of a costume and see what I'm truly capable, and know that doing it on the week where I've got 200 odd reports to write and parents' evening and I'm away, that like, I'm so competitive as well. It's not going to be up to my standards. And I'm like disappointed that I can't be like, take a day off work and work on my child's special costume to win some naff prize that you had to pay 50p for. Like, I truly would have loved to do it, and I'm hoping that little treat of an outfit will be back at Bet this year, and people will be able to go see it at the Talk Radio stand if they wish.
See it in
We're
person.
going to put Lucy in it this year.
Yeah.
But like, Michael Rosen just laughed his head off when he saw me in it, which is like, I'm like, that's my Michael Rosen like memory. But like, I would have, I feel like I'm letting my son down and myself down, because I know I can do a really good job, but giving me kind of 9 days notice, yeah, and just it's. I need a good half term's notice if I'm going to really go for it, especially if you're going to make it a competition, because I can't.
Oh, another thing that I want to mention, and we might have to put a pin in this and come back to it later on before we deal with the other things that we've already put pins in. I want to just give a nod to showing your face at your teacher Christmas party and how we all feel about that. Because in amongst all of this, that usually pops up as well.
Mine is on the last day of term, which normally I haven't done before. So I quite appreciate that we actually finish at lunchtime, have the afternoon off to get ready, and then it's the work Christmas do, which is quite nice. But we've opted to stay relatively near where our school is, whereas normally everybody near me goes up the city, and it's a bizarre night because it's like a Wednesday, but like every teacher in the city, like in the land, is there. And some of them will go up straight after school and will start quite early in the afternoon. At previous schools, I have rocked up once I put my son to bed and got there at about quite early, I think, about 7:30, and people are trolleyed. Very festive and very merry. So I don't know. But again, it goes back to like our show that we were talking about, kind of morals and kind of thinking about that. Like for me, even with work colleagues, I would struggle to go out and get absolutely plastered.
I won't do it.
No, I've been out on a night out and I was going to drive, and then one of the other girls go, no, I'll drop. My other half will drop you off, because they didn't live too far away from me. And I have gone out and had a couple of drinks and had a good time, but I'm also very aware and wouldn't get as drunk as I would do with my friends per se.
And certainly in the international environment I've been in, there is a sort of, it all gets a bit blurry, because we've always done it in Cascais and in venues where, or certainly venues near, we know that parents hang out in and have seen them. And I've always, certainly since I've been here, have been quite mindful of that. And just like, I don't ever, there are certain colleagues, who I would go out with separately, who I do consider friends. That's a different beast. But I'm sorry, when your SLT are in the room, I don't ever want them to see me anything other than.
And I don't want to see my SLT drunk either.
I've had that happen before.
Yeah.
And it's horrifically uncomfortable.
I do think the only thing is it's slightly better when it's like mine and it's on the last day of term, because everyone get a little bit drunk, maybe say things they regret, but actually it's the holidays, and there's no staff room bitching on the Monday or staff room gossiping about, did you see this? Did you hear them say that? Did you overhear this? And then like it'll be around the school. I do kind of respect it. If you're going to do a staff do it like on the last day. So then it's the holidays and everyone's kind of forgotten and no one's chattering about it in the staff room or relaying stuff to other people. Like, I just don't think that's a good kind of work environment to be in, especially if you've got those kind of people in schools. But we all have one or two of them, don't we? We all do. Those Karens are.
Oh, yes, we do. And yeah, I do think, everyone is entitled to let their hair down. But I do think, that if you're in management, that, I mean, I'm not saying don't have fun, but you are being watched and you are being judged. You just are.
And if you're in SLT, buy a round. You'll be way more respected if you put your hand in your pocket as well.
Yes, there is also that. Although I don't recommend doing tequila shots with your
no, not that kind of round. No.
I did that. I said at a shot, and then it was bought for me by a boss who will remain anonymous, and in goodwill kind of, but then afterwards I was like, and it wasn't just me, like there was a group of us that were bought a shot, but I was just like afterwards, I don't, of course, no one else, it was all people from school, but I don't know, afterwards I maybe overthought it too much, and maybe it was just a nice gesture, but yeah, and maybe it was the kind of drink, I don't know, but yeah, I'm not going to unpack that too much now. But the Christmas party one, I think, so stick to very close to the end, if not the end. Don't get too drunk, and don't, like, I always think that schools kind of, get this, like, if you're going to go for dinner, it's a dinner, okay, fine. If you're going to go for drinks, okay, or like a buffet thing, fine. It's kind of when it's sort of, it's stretched out over across, I've been in, well, actually, no, I haven't, but other schools here, it's a lunch that then kind of blends into an evening and it just kind of goes on and on and on. Nah, keep it, early-ish evening, get it done.
I was once at a school that had an inset day on the last day of term before Christmas. And we had inset on Christmas on that day in the morning. We finished at lunchtime, but everybody brought in a dish and we put a big buffet down the middle and everybody sat and had lunch together. And then we all got to go home early and they still like had it as a whole day's work. And I quite like that because I was like, everyone just brings one dish. It's not loads of pressure. You can eat what you want. There was actually loads of food left over. So I just like, Muggins here always takes it home and feeds the children. Like handing it out, making bits. And it's like, but actually that was really nice because people didn't have to spend loads of money. There wasn't any pressure on everyone going out. And actually it meant that everybody attended and everybody got to kind of relax and socialise. And I don't think there is necessarily that kind of aspect. Because I think if you, I don't think generally, I don't know what the uptake is on kind of Christmas parties, but I'd say probably only like 50% of staff would actually go, if that. And it's like, actually this was an opportunity where everyone was thanked, everyone was really relaxed, and it was nicer than having a school dinner, and we all kind of got to mingle and everyone kind of put a little bit of effort in without it costing the school loads of money as well. So that was kind of a really nice way of doing it.
Has your school ever done staff Secret Santa? And if not,
yes. I've backed out of it this year because I'm in multiple Secret Santas for elsewhere. So I have not joined my Secret Santa this year. Bear in mind, I've been at my school for less than a year. So I backed out, but normally I do go for it.
See, I always have done, just again as a goodwill thing. Like I will moan and grumble to anyone who will listen, and I will because I always feel like they'll sort of say, oh, the budget's this. And then, I will kind of maybe go a little bit over, just, still kind of not being silly about it, but I will do it nicely because I always think, what's the point? And almost every year I've done it, and this is going to sound terrible and spoiled and silly on my part, but hear me out. But I feel like I get shafted because I always get the person in return who might as well not have bothered.
Exactly. I get that. I've also had
a Dove shampoo one year, or a Dove shower gel. That was it. And I'm like, whilst I'm not expecting a bottle of champagne and, Godiva chocolates or whatever it is, like, either do it and put a little bit of thought into it, or don't do it. And I fell for it every year for a few years. And I'm quite relieved because of, the kind of teaching work I'm doing at the moment, I'm not really involved in the school. So I can just go, do you know what? I'm not here enough. So not my problem this year.
And I've had some weird ones where my school had trying to be savvy. We had secret sock Santa. So you had to buy everybody a pair of socks. And that's all you had to buy. And we all swapped socks. So that was, It was all right. Then we had the charity shop Secret Santa, where everyone had to buy something from a charity shop. So it wasn't that. So it had to be secondhand and kind of not spend as much. I think it was like a $5 and stuff. But that one was everyone just basically got just really naff presents. But yeah, so I think if you can, you've got to really think of a clever way of doing it, or like those people that are being lazy. Let's just face it, everyone's a teacher. If in doubt, just get stationery. You can't go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Or, I've always found a nice one to do is, I mean, I know no one needs any more mugs, but okay, nice mug, fill it up with some, some kind of a nice box of tea and some, little chocolates, and then, do it up nicely. Job done. Little thing. It just, I don't know. It's always grated on me a little bit, because it's the kind of it's not fair thing in my head, and I really I could hear my inner child screeching as I'm talking about this. It's not fair. I didn't want that, and it sounds so awful, particularly in the previous breath when we were talking about certainly children who maybe are not going to get a big present or a main present or whatever you want to call it anymore. And then me kind of banging on about getting Dove shower gel. Well, maybe they were trying to tell me something. I don't know. Just gonna.
I did have a staff member. She got a student in the Secret Santa, and she was telling me how said student hadn't smelt as good lately, and had CPOM'd it and everything like that. But then was like, ironically, I have got them shower gel for the Secret Santa, and now I feel bad because I've noticed this. I was like, don't feel bad. It's probably a good thing. And it's a nice subtle way of saying to that child, have a wash and just watch the hygiene a little bit. Because sometimes it can just be hormones and just changes and things. But it's obviously always worth CPOMing when you notice something like that. But I was just, we had a little chat about it, and I was like, oh, it's quite a interesting gift to go for there. I think it's quite traditional. I don't think the child would take offence. It's fine.
Well, I suppose, I think there's some families who, for a laugh, the Lynx or Axe, as it's known in Europe, the kind of waft of Lynx Africa or whatever it is. Oh, those sets that you can get. I think Boots and Superdrug, you can still get them. That haunts me from my teenage life. the kind of heady mix of deeply offensive BO and Axe / Lynx body spray. Huh. Anywho, that was a digression enough.
Right. What do you think of Christmas competitions?
I think it very much depends. Like, you've talked about briefly your door one. I want you to elaborate on this. I think it's
I've done this. My current school have got a Christmas door competition, and my old school we had a form room competition, which included the door. This school and my current school is quite interesting because it wasn't going to be Key Stage 4. It was just going to be Key Stage 3, and we all have to decorate our doors. It has to be using recycled materials, so it's not wasting anything. The kids have to bring it in, and they get given like half a lesson to do it, and then it's judged during tutor time, and they'll prizes a breakfast with the principal after Christmas to have. So I'll be coming back if my form win and having that. I'm having that croissant. It's got my name on it. So there's that. My old school. Oh yeah, no, sorry. They and then basically they went, should we let the year 11s do it? Because they should have been doing maths or English, and they are vital subjects that they are not allowed to miss a minute of. And they were like, and everyone was we all went, yeah, let them join it. They want to join in. And the staff were kind of, their tutors went, this is a bit naff. You don't have to do it. You guys are old enough. If you just want to, we can set some work and you can just sit and read and do it. That's fine. You don't have to do it. And all the year 11s have gone, no, we're in. We are going for it, and we are going big. And I've had them like come and show me stuff they're making and talk about plans and designs. And the year 11s are going for it. And actually, I completely respect them for it. And the fact they've gone, no, we are going in and we are going to win. We're not going to just do it like half-heartedly. They are full on committed. As with my old school, We came runner-up a few times with my tutor group, but my last one before I left, they went full pelt for me because they think it's absolutely hilarious how competitive I am, and yet I never win anything. But I just like being competitive. It's not about the winning; it's about the giving it some gusto. But my tutor group was in the computer room as they had been, and on the wall were all the different famous computer people through time, and slowly we started prepping for it, and we were they were cutting out different hats and antlers and little elf ears, and they kind of stuck them on all the different kind of people on there, and they went up well before anything else. And our deputy head, that was actually his computer classroom, he did not clock them at all for ages. And then my students then made loads of stars and snowflakes and hung them from the room, so they all hung from the top. They then went full to a whole nother level, and they built a snowman out of balloons and like mache and stuff, and then bought in an Elsa costume for me to wear. I had a projector that projected snowflakes all over the walls. I bought them glow lights. Every child in the room had a little like light that went on their finger that was kind of glowing. And also our judges were open to bribery, so they bought gifts for the judges as they came round, because we're not below that either. But we won because it was so creative, nothing to do with the bribes. But they had candy canes for the judges when they came round. And when they came round and saw it, he was like, "This is amazing." And then the kids pointed out all the people on the wall, and the teacher, the room it was, he's like, "I've been teaching in here every day and I've not noticed." He's like, "That's amazing. They look great." So it was all the little details as well. And they'd made like paper Christmas trees and folded those, and they were all on the windowsill. But they did very well, and they won that for me before I left. So I like a bit of a form decorating. I don't know whether anyone from the school is listening, but I'll let you in on what my I have a very small little group which is mainly linked with the kids from the SRB, but they've said ideally it would be based on the 12 Days of Christmas songs. So I am going to have I believe it's 10 Lords a Leaping. So I'm going to make my form leap. I'm going to photograph them in said leap, print them out giant. They are going to cut themselves out, and we're going to have 10 Lords a Leaping in some way is the plan. But really, my form just want to sing, and I'm like, I don't think we'll win. It's decorating competition, not a singing competition. But we just want to sing the song. I'm like, okay, it's fine. So I think I'm slightly more competitive at the moment. They're still year sevens. I still need to embed the competitive nature into them. They'll learn to be. Yes, they'll learn to be competitive whether they like it or not. But yeah, so I do love a little competition. I think especially my school is one of those schools where, bar my room, because mine's the art room, I am the exception to the rule, as always. But the rest of my school doesn't have anything up in their room. They don't have any displays because the research shows that it distracts children from their learning. So they do not have any displays up in the classrooms.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all. There's a couple of motivational quotes in the corridors, but bar my room, nada. I am the exception to everything. So I'm a bit like, I think it's going to be really nice seeing all the doors all decorated and exciting and pretty. And yeah, the only downside is that I will hate it because they'll all come and nick my paint and paper if I don't lock my door, which I don't normally. So basically, I'm going to get ransacked, but also I'm not going to be there, so they can still take what you want, children.
Cause as much havoc as possible.
No. I'll be like, safe. I'll be holding those resources with my life. They can't touch that. We need it.
Yeah. I think that's nice. Yeah, I think that kind of competition is lovely, and certainly where it's kind of fair game in that, you know, of course. I mean, when you were talking about your son's making the costume thing, I do think in principle that is lovely. And I do, I do actually really like the idea of it. You know, it's creativity and all the rest of it, but it's not a level playing field.
No, do it in school. Provide the resources. Let them battle it out. I mean, because I mean, my child is not handicapped in the fact that he has an art teacher for a mother. I should be nailing this. Like those prizes should be a given. But I don't have the time. So single mum trumps art teacher textile mum, unfortunately. It's just, yeah, sorry, child. Maybe next time. When I'm not a teacher and I have time on my hand, I can multitask and do that kind of thing. But
I wouldn't even know where to start. I mean, I quite clearly did not make these. But yeah, I do think, and again, it's got to be lighthearted at this time of year. Yes, by all means have competitions, but just again, I think schools need to be mindful of how those are presented and what it entails. And as you say, I think if you can't do it in school, maybe don't do it.
And I think, yeah, no, because like there's my school have got quite a lot of things, I think, really for this time of year. And actually, I was speaking to one of my kids and we've had a change of principal and stuff. And he's like, I feel like this is getting back to how it used to be with all these competition and things that we can do. There was always something we could do with the old head. And actually, I really like the fact there's now all this different stuff is going on. And I was like, actually, maybe it's that. Maybe there is lots of stuff. And I just see it as actually, as a mum, and it's a new school, I feel like I'd need to do everything. I don't want him to be left out. But actually, maybe it's just that it's finding picking and choosing. Because like my school has also got the 12 days of Christmas in the library, where each day they're giving them clues to a book. And if they can work out from the book that we read the clues in tutor time, that they can then go and put their entries in the library and win a prize if they guess the right book. Like, that's quite fun. But obviously, if the kids that don't read as much aren't going to be entering that. We've got also we're doing a charity walk for the motor neuron disease, and all the kids are going to walk 1 kilometre or run 1 kilometre in PE every break and lunchtime. You can go and do a couple of circles of the Astro to add to the tally and raise sponsorship. And actually, at this time of year, when it's a bit miserable, actually getting the kids out and moving and kind of being outside in daylight, actually, I'm like, this is a bit of a clever one. I agree. I appreciate this one. And then they're doing a big one on Friday where everyone's got to wear their Santa hats and stuff. But actually, that's quite good at a time of year where everyone's feeling a bit miserable, and actually getting them moving is quite a good one. So I think if you can kind of, I don't know, what from a primary school point of view, we've had a bake sale this week as well to support the fundraising for that, and we've got a chocolate tombola coming up. Do you find that like the cake sales and the chocolate and the sweet things, that because I do feel like there's a lot of them at this time of year, does that hinder then the lessons? Or
cake sale day, it's baffling to me. And again, I realize I'm kind of talking about from kind of international school point of view. Like, when you have a cake sale, the most a kid should have, a couple of euros, couple of quid tops. The number of kids that I have had coming in with kind of with notes, so 5-10 euro notes, and I'm like, I appreciate that, having cash around and all that is a lot of people don't, but why would you give it like? And I have to get to the point where I'm like, you are not spending all of that.
And also, a cake shouldn't be more than £1. Ideally, they should be 50p. No. Don't make them extortionate.
No, but I mean, a cake sale day, you kind of have to resign yourself to the fact that they're going to be hopped up on sugar, or you make sure that it's at the end of the day as they are buggering off home. But it's hard to, I mean, obviously, again, towards the end of the year, it doesn't really matter. Out here, I've tended to finish at lunchtime on the last day as well. So if there is a sale at break time in the morning or whatever, they're going home at lunchtime. So stuff it, in an hour, 2 hours, you are no longer my problem for the next 2 weeks. Or 3. Actually, it's 3 because it works out quite, I don't know if it's the same in the UK, but it works out quite nicely because the 3rd of January, we all normally get kind of sent back, is a Friday.
I don't know. I know my school is going back on the 6th for an inset. My son doesn't go back to like the 8th. Muggins here with new job is going back on the 2nd. So that's but I have 2 days to read HR documents. So, it's a hard life. I feel like this, like saying muggles, like in the real world, what normal humans do, not weird teachers. jeans. It's slightly different.
Oh my God, you're going to have to, yeah, because you're going to have been, I mean, this is a side note and but yeah, because kind of going from being, because I often joke that kind of leaving something like teaching, and I shouldn't say this joke, but I'm going to anyway, leaving something like teaching must be a bit like leaving prison because, and I mean this, I don't mean this as negatively as I'm framing, I'm digging a hole here, but I'm going to roll with it. It's to do with the institutionalization as opposed to actually doing time although in some schools, maybe it does feel like you're doing time. I don't know. I'm digressing hugely. But, you're going to kind of go from, pretty much timing when you pee to being able to pee whenever you want. You don't have to have lunch at 12 o'clock.
I can eat whenever I want. I can wee whenever I want. It's my bladder is going to be a new woman.
Yeah, you can get up and wander around. I mean, I know I think you're going to be working from home, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to. I think we talked about in recent weeks about you retiring your teacher wardrobe.
Yes, I'm so excited that I can wear stuff that fits me and I don't look about 10 years older than I am and all baggy and stuff. And I proved it the other day. I was talking to one of my catering kids and they'd shown me they'd made one of their assignments is to make a healthier dish and they'd bought these turkey bacon in. They were like, look at the protein level, like this is really healthy, miss. And I was like, oh, actually that would really help me make my protein goals. And then they were like, oh, miss, why are you trying to reach protein goals? And I was like, yeah, I try to have like 180 grams of protein a day. I'm on like a real fitness kick at the moment. And they were like, oh, I don't believe that for a second. I got up my app and I showed them. I was like, yeah, like I'm on this amount of protein. They're like, what, do you have like protein shakes, miss? I'm like, yeah, I have like a breakfast protein shake because I'm busy and we've discussed that. That is like if you're struggling in the mornings, that is gold. And then I have like a clear protein when I get home just to think it. I was like, and I work out pretty much most days. Like I nailed a new one. I can do 120 lengths in almost an hour now last night. And literally the fact that the kids like, is it new exercise? I'm like, yeah, I know, it's the clothes. Like, they wear big baggy clothes, but under this, it's just a machine. I'm like, God, they're just the way we must look as teachers. They're going to be shocked when they see me in normal clothes because I still have to go past the school to drop my son off. So,
it's just I mean, I think even the sort of the older ones, I think they have this like. Are you a kind of, you're not a real person?
Yeah.
Not a real person. No. But yes, it's and again, sort of a lot of these kind of Christmas sort of traditions, we're talking about like these funny quirky little competitions and these shows and all the rest of it, that doesn't exist outside of what we do.
No.
Like, so is there a part of you that will kind of miss this kind of slightly sort of odd time of year and all the kind of weird bits and bobs that go with it?
I think I will. I think I'll especially miss like the competitive aspect of not achieving, because let's face it, I'm just so competitive, but I never I was thinking on one of the other shows I was talking about sports day and how I was like, I'm in this house and all the kids were like, oh, gutted, miss, sorry, miss, like that house never wins, you guys aren't in the sport. I was like, yeah, but I'm going to cheer on. Like we won one race and like we all went absolutely ballistic at the fact that we won that relay, and like, but I'm just like, I'm going to miss that aspect of it, of like the fun, like, because actually my school did, I've never seen sports day done quite to the extent that they had. Each house, they had like an entrance thing. Each house had picked a theme song and they had banners and drums and whistles, and it was like they were all coming out one after a time and cheering, and they're all in their different colours, and it was like, you don't really get that anywhere else. It is a very unique kind of environment, kind of doing it that way, for sure. And I think it's going to be one of those that the more I'm out of it, the more I will miss. But I will certainly enjoy being owner of when I go to the toilet.
It's never going to get old. And I know we've talked about it before. So coming back to the whole, the show thing, I don't know if, because I realize we kind of scooted around a lot of things like we normally do. But the show thing is always... and as a primary teacher, it's almost kind of, it is an unwritten rule at Christmas. I mean, the nativities and all that tend to get left to the younger lot. But the general rule is you are going to have to cough out, fart out something, whether it's a kind of medley of songs, whether it is a carol service, whether it is a kind of full-on production, which my old school here, I went in for a couple of days last week, and the year threes and fours, of which there are 100 of them, are teaming up to pull off a kind of proper little performance, and bless those teachers. And I was kind of on the sidelines just with them, and I was like, I actually am quite relieved I don't have to do this year. But it is, finding the time to fit in all those rehearsals and blah 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 and busting a gut. But to those teachers out there who are going through this at the moment, and I know that you're out there and I know that you are doing it, just remember when you are tearing your hair out because the angel Gabriel's having a sulk, or you're worried that the Mary is not going to turn up on the day because she's had raging flu, or whatever it is, at the end of the day, let me just remind you that most of these parents care about are seeing their little darlings on a stage, and they get to take a photo, or they get to be like, oh, that is it. So do not spend the time ripping your hair out. The songs will work or they won't, but the parents, they just want to see little whoever just looking cute on a stage. That's really where it begins and ends.
And I think that's the thing, isn't it? There's so much pressure on teachers for everything to be perfect, and perfect doesn't exist. Especially in teaching, we put such high regards on us. But actually, when so and so says they're lying wrong, or so and so stands in the thing, and everyone giggles and laughs, they're going to remember that. It doesn't matter that went wrong, and we kind of put onus on ourselves and punish ourselves if it doesn't go right. But actually, that's kind of the joy of it. It is learning about it, and also from the other side, if you are an SLT in a school and one of your teachers has submitted a request to go and watch their child in the nativity, please try and accommodate it. Like, we don't get to go to many things, and that is one of them, that especially the first couple, that are really precious. So do kind of let them go. I was just trying to get it up. I couldn't get it up on Teacher Tap. I think yesterday one of the questions was asking teachers what thing they were in the nativity. And I think obviously teachers were quite an intelligent lot. There was a lot of Marys and Josephs in there. But I don't know who on earth wrote the question, but one of them was like other, like turtle or something. And I'm like, who has a turtle in their nativity play? Like,
it was like the Love Actually. Do you remember? I mean, I think it's in Love Actually where I'm a lobster.
Lobster.
Yes, lobster.
I feel like I could get away with that at my school because we are by the sea. But like, I part of me would like, yeah, actually, we were nailing this kind of stuff right at this early age. Us teach a lot, but also I'm like, do we need those silly like kind of extra little roles? I don't know. I do feel like try and be traditional if you can, rather than ending up like with Door. Or that there's a very cute, isn't there? Like is there a TikTok of a kid that's like, I'm like sheep, and they were like, yeah. He's like, I'm so excited, I'm gonna be like this, and they were just like genuinely excited about the fact that they were apart and had nothing to say. And sometimes it is about inclusion, but I just think like try and make them not silly parts so they don't feel like they're really stupid and not relevant. Like, it's important to make a kid feel wanted and needed, and also that's going to get your parents off your back as well, because if you get it wrong, you are going to have those kind of moaning things about things, but also take those with a pinch of salt. And I think like that was
going to be my next PSA actually.
So have you heard of Parent Kind? You can find out more at parentkind.org. They are a national charity representing parent views and voices and championing parental participation in education and school life. So actually, they're a really good place to start for that kind of thing. But getting parents involved in nativities, I've seen schools do it really well, where they get the kind of parent groups doing tickets or doing refreshments and things like that. and like actually make your lives easier, get parents involved. It doesn't have to be all the school all the time. And actually, if you can build that relationship and make it work, then it does really help improve it. And obviously we've got our other sponsors over at John Cat Bookshop. So don't forget, you can use the code JCTTR2425 for 20% off today. So treat yourself this Christmas to a lovely new educational CPD book, or the teacher love of your life. Then go and find them a little treat and make sure they start their new year in the best educational mindset possible. So enjoy. I thought he was being a bit quiet. I thought you weren't listening, JBL.
I thought he was ignoring us.
The funniest thing I've seen was the RE department, including 2 nuns miming to Bon Jovi's "Living on a Prayer" for the Christmas talent show. Amazing. So that's the thing. I think like that kind of thing, like the is it David that did the Britain's Got Talent quiz? Like that kind of thing that's less, well, I'm sure there was a lot of hard work that went into it, but light-hearted fun that's kind of doesn't matter if it goes wrong. It's all about participation and having a go and building those kids' confidence to get on stage and stuff and present and make it a happy, like if you make it a really stressful experience, the kids are going to pick up on that and they're going to have anxiety. It's all about kind of finding the fun and finding the joy in the experience.
When I was at secondary school, we had this, and it became legendary. And I honestly have no idea if they still do it, but it was called sixth form entertainment. And so the sixth formers would have to put on a show, and it had to involve staff as well. And it was very silly and very ridiculous. And that used to be the kind of the high point. And again, the staff that were willing to, and to be fair, it was most of them, were willing to make absolute twits of themselves. And I think, things like that, again, showing that human side and that kind of, we are people too. We are willing to have a laugh. Yes, we're your teachers. Yes, we deserve your respect and everything else, but actually we can have a laugh.
It's like that's having a laugh with them, isn't it? And my old school did that very well. They had a staff band, and they would learn the songs and they would do it, and then we'd have basically a bit of a whole school karaoke, singing along with the staff band and having everybody in that assembly singing and dancing. It was the most amazing experience. And I think those kind of things, we haven't really had that whole group experience as much since kind of COVID, and actually we should kind of enjoy those. I remember when I was younger, we used to have house shouts. At each house you picked a song and you had to learn it and you had to choreograph it. And I remember practicing at lunch times and break times and doing it. And we did the Queen Don't Stop Me Now and stuff. So it was, but I loved it. And and another year I did Belinda Carlisle, and I can still know the moves and the song, because those are the things that they're going to stick with them. They're going to, pardon?
Which song?
I can't. Oh, it's gone from my head. It will come to me. But it's just like
out at the end, everybody.
But it's one of those, isn't it? It just sticks with you and you remember those, and they're just as important memories as achieving a GCSE, isn't it? You've got to remember the fun moments in it as well. And I think assembly, and especially I think if you're not having a fun Christmas assembly and having everyone in the same room and kind of doing that kind of thing, then it's like you need to be questioning it a little bit. I think there's only a couple of times a year where you've got to do it, and I do feel like Christmas is one of them.
Yeah, no, me too. I mean, there's just, I
was going to say, I've got another one if you're stuck for one.
Yeah, go for it, because I'm having a brain fart.
Okay, so obviously this time of year, it becomes difficult to get kids to attend school when the weather's bad. All of the illnesses come around. Obviously, when it's near the end of term and maybe parents think, oh, they're not going to be doing proper lessons, this is the time to take them out and go on our own little holidays. My school have done this, and I'm in two minds about it. Like, I get it. I completely get it. But the other part of me is like, I'm not sure. So they've gone for the 13 days of Christmas, not the 12, the 13 days of Christmas. Obviously, we finished on a Wednesday, so it's 2.5 weeks. So I'm like, okay, I feel like you could have knocked a day off. But this is for kids that attend. So everybody that attends goes into a raffle to win a prize. And as the days go up, the prizes get better. Okay, so day 13, so we're counting down to 1, by the way, is a selection box. Then we've got day 12 is Cadbury Chocolate Robins. Day 11 is Kit Kat Reindeer. Day 10, Chocolate Orange. Some of these have special hollies, which means there's 1 per year group on those days. Day 9 is Cadbury Chocolate Christmas Pud. Sorry, that's a mouthful. Day 8, a free dessert or drink. Number 7, a tube of sweets. Number 6, chocolate money. Number 5, big selection box. On day 4 days to go, we have a chocolate Santa. And then the last 3 days of school, the 3 days that people don't come in, they have upped the game. 3 days to go, £25 voucher. 2 days to go, a £40 voucher. And on the last day of term, there is an Echo Dot and a £60 voucher. Would that make you turn up, Lucy?
And this is for the whole school?
I believe so. There's a couple of days when there's 5 things. There's 1 per year group. But I don't know. I'm seeing a lot. I saw a lot more go out yesterday than 1. So I don't know whether it's. I believe it was 1, except for unless there's a holiday. Yeah. So it says the number of days is the number. Oh no, sorry. The number of days is the number of prizes to be won. So on the first day, there's 13. No, I just read it wrong. There will be 4 bonus days. This means the prizes available will be per group. And there's also a bonus on the 9th of December where the prize draw will be to win a week queue jump pass and the lunch queue. And all we have to do is get 100% attendance the previous week. So it's quite an interesting one. Everyone's like, they want the queue jump because they're going to use it on the Christmas lunch day because that's the day that everyone queues up and the queue's massive. So they're like, yeah. So it's quite like, I also feel sorry for the kids that are ill because there are kids that are going to be ill.
And it's just season in that sense.
Yeah.
I think it's coming from the highest light in that it's trying to kind of, incentivize without kind of making it almost too competitive or too kind of in your face. I mean, linking any kind of competition to attendance I know people have very strong feelings about that. In this case,
prizes for the last 3 days, you have to have had 100% attendance for December.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because I understand what they're trying to do, and I think in some respects it is a nice thing, but also there's so much at play in terms of weather at the moment, time of year, in terms of illness. A lot of people find this time of year difficult for a multitude of reasons. I think they'll have to see how it goes and what the feedback is this year as to whether they do it again.
I suppose it's that obviously the government are coming, their attendance thing is pushing. This is a thing for schools to get right. But then we had Fredo Friday the other week. The kids had attendance that week. They all got a Fredo on Friday. I guess I like you said, I can see the fun in it and I can see the joy in it. And I can see from a leadership point of view why they are trying to think outside the box and come up with different ideas. Personally, I feel like there should be a staff one. Like if I can, I should get 100% attendance for December. So surely I should, bar my hospital appointment. So would that veto me? Because I have got my lungs and my foot. So does that mean that I wouldn't get, even though I've been there and taught all my lessons, worked hard, did my after schools, because I've got 2 hospital appointments in December, I wouldn't get my entries.
This is it, and I would argue that'd be really unfair, particularly as when your son was injured recently, You took him to hospital, you dropped him off at grandma's and went straight back to work. I
All
wouldn't have
in
done
one
that. I'd have
PPA.
gone home. Because that gives you an insight into who the better person in this double act is. It ain't me. I think, at this time of year, is it okay to kind of have a bit of fun with it? Sure. But would I encourage kind of competitions with attendance throughout the school year? No, I wouldn't. Would I encourage awards throughout the year? No, I wouldn't. And I think your SLT and SLTs around the country are acutely aware that, a bit of a kind of incentive at Christmas is not going to solve the overall problem now, is it? It might boost your December figures a bit, but we all know the problem is deeper and greater than that. So
I don't know how much kids would be influenced by that. I don't know how many of them. I feel like the ones that would come in all the time would be really excited for it because they're in all the time, and it's just like,
yeah,
I could win something. But the ones I don't think are attending, I don't know whether they would be like, oh yeah, I'm going to come in that week because I could get a voucher. Or that month. I don't know.
No, it's not going to be. I wouldn't expect it to be a game changer. And again, I think SLT are probably aware of this. And so maybe they are directing it more towards the ones who are, who maybe don't get that acknowledgement.
Plus, they should have read Atomic Habits. It's 21 days to make a new habit. They should have made it 21 days at Christmas. They got all of them in 21 days, and then problem solved. I don't know. Maybe
that sitting over there, which I haven't read. I need to.
I highly recommend it. I love it. But I just think it's one of those, isn't it? Is it kind of getting them set into that right mindset? Is it one of those that actually, on those dark days when you don't want to get up and come to school, it is going to make it like a bit more like, oh yeah, actually I'll come because otherwise I might not get that chance, and that would be quite cool, especially for maybe those pupil premium students as well that might be like, if I win that, I maybe get to buy something for myself or buy some presents for other people. But I do think, like you said, I think it's got to be clever, and I think there are some caveats in it because I've heard staff talk about it, but they're just obviously not declared to students that if kids have improved their attendance by X% on that month or that week, then that will be taken into consideration and stuff like that. So that I think kids that aren't attending have got a slightly different target to be able to be entered into the draw. And I think that's an important caveat, that you don't necessarily have to shout that out there to all the kids, but I feel like having conversations with those other kids of being like, right, we want you, we don't want you to feel excluded, we want you to be part of it, this can work and this can work. And I think especially like from my point of view, like my niece whose birthday is today, so I'm going to give her a big shout out for her 17th birthday. Her other half has flown her to Paris for the weekend, so I'm slightly jealous of my niece's love life, but she has issues with her lungs, which I've spoken about before. She wanted to go in and do her GCSE trampolining with tubes coming out of her porta cuff that went to her heart, and I happened to be visiting. I went, absolutely not. And that stopped her getting the grade that she wanted and deserved. And she got like 6, 7s and 8s across the board on 50% attendance, and she went into school when she could, but the rest of the time she was either at home having stuff pumped into her or in hospital because having operations and all sorts. So like there are the kids that are the exception to the rule, and they shouldn't be excluded, and they shouldn't be pressurized either if it's not the right circumstance for them. So I do think it's a fine line, but I do like a bit of Christmas cheer, but I also think, I still think the massive caveat should be that there should be a staff equivalent, and actually having, even if it's just one prize, and it goes, at the end of December, we're actually going to give one staff member that's had 100% attendance a £60 voucher. I think that would be quite good fun. And kind of actually majority of the staff are probably in all the time anyway, and actually it'd make them feel appreciated and stuff as well. And I think it's if you're doing that well-being kind of thing for the kids, don't forget to do it to your staff as well, because this is a hard time of year. This is a hard slog. And if they don't feel appreciated on those mornings when they wake up and feel sick, they're not going to come in. And that's going to actually cost you far more than if a kid doesn't come in for a day because they couldn't get out of bed. So it's thinking about the balance of thinking about it from both sides of point of view, I think is also important.
I also, just to, because I'm acutely aware we're getting to the end of this show. I also think that, yes, you know, we all focus in on Christmas and so much energy goes into this. But I wonder, Hannah, what are your thoughts on, because again, yes, okay, I feel like this is the hardest bit, but also January, and I say this as someone with a January birthday as well, January is, for want of a better phrase, bloody grim. Is there not something to be said for putting energy into incentives or things that maybe carry through into January? You know, in terms of, and I'm talking for staff and students, just in terms of, you know, obviously, you know, we're all kind of celebrated out, but in terms of kind of, you know, our big thing on well-being, which I know we've talked about, or, you know, I think that it's, you know, that kind of, you know, cheer and that kind of sort of mood it does need to carry through, because yeah, the first, I mean, certainly if you are UK based, January, February, even really into early March, let's be honest, are still dark, cold and grey, and most people are kind of doing dry January, Veganuary, whatever other persuasions, you know, there are you know, sort of things like that. But I do think that, yeah, there is something to be said for ensuring that that energy carries through and that light carries through, right? Because it's almost, we almost kind of come to sort of a hard stop after sort of the 12 days of Christmas, and then it's kind of, okay, all right, we just got to carry on as normal. And I find
No,
that
I completely agree. And if you flip it and think about it that way, if you think about that kind of £60 voucher at the end, if you were to think about it, actually, how much fruit and veg could £60 buy? Like, could you do some kind of healthy initiative where all the kids are offered a free bit of fruit every day? I'm sure the supermarkets, if you ask them, would get involved, or do like some whatever stocks going off, because Lidl always do those kind of £1.50 baskets, and actually they're pretty decent. But actually, if you did a deal with them, like, could we buy all of those every day for the whole of January and support your local community? I'm sure that they would say yes, and or any other supermarkets. I know that Morrison's has done stuff with my school before. But actually, providing every kid in the school with a piece of fruit kind of every day for January, if you were kind of clever about it, could be easily funded. And actually, that's going to keep your kids healthier in January. Same as, like I said about this sponsored walk, and that's really great and really motivating. But actually doing something like that in January, getting the kids moving, getting them outside, getting them in fresh air. I know the weather's miserable, but actually we are short. We need that dopamine hit. That is what we kind of need to keep ourselves going. So it's kind of, we know as adults, actually I'm going to caveat that I don't think all adults know it, but I think some of us, those that have worked on ourselves and developed ourselves, know that you need to drink plenty of water, you need to get plenty of sleep, you need to do lots of exercise, and you need to eat healthy. And if you can get those things done, then the rest of it kind of looks after ourselves. And I don't think that we necessarily have, we should go back to our national curriculum last week, we don't have those things really pushed on our kids anymore. They're not looking at kind of what they're eating and what they're doing, and especially when it's darker, they need to be having more vitamin D because we're not getting that sunlight. And actually kind of teaching our kids about that, and keep teaching us about how sad, and the fact that the seasonal deficit disorder, and the fact that they will maybe feel a bit kind of grumpy in January. It's not a nice time of year, and the days are dark. But thinking about how we can caveat that, what we could do as a school to be kind of positive, moving around, having those things, it could be quite kind of interesting. Same as if it's a horrible rainy lunchtime, like having certain classrooms where you bung on a film where they can go and have a little cozy up and have a little rest, and they're not out there getting cold, like those kind of things. I think if done well, same as it when I was covering, and before our lovely duo, I think I was over with Adam, and we had the kindness head, and he had his tea trolley and would push it around the school and deliver all of his teachers cups of tea. And I'm like, oh, like I would love that, like in January, like once a week.
Yeah.
You go around and give all your staff like a nice cup of tea or a hot chocolate, like that's the kind of thing. Or it might be that every kid that gets 100% attendance on a Friday gets a hot chocolate at break time, like that. That's kind of like quite a nice one. Like give them incentives in that kind of thing. You could kind of very much keep it going in January. But I completely, yeah. But yeah, I completely agree. Like, I like the Christmas stuff and I like the Christmas countdown and I like the fun, but I feel like I don't know. I just wish we as teachers didn't have the guilt of allowing the fun to like obviously the countdown's really fun, but it's got that connotation. It's associated with attendance. Like that's the real reason, isn't it? Like, we're not really we have to teach to the end because it's about the GCSEs and the hours count. Like it's like I think we've forgotten that it's okay to do things for the joy of it, and that actually like your kids will remember that and take that home, and especially those that won't have the best of Christmases. If you can have that joy in school, they've got that to carry them through, and I just think that's really important.
That's the important thing. And I think, my message to schools is be realistic in terms of, how much your teachers can. I mean, I know it's a bit late now to sort of say this, but for future reference, they are writing reports, doing shows. They're quite literally, I mean, depending on your faces, but, doing the Lord's work, for want of a better turn of phrase. And it's, it's a lot. And I think that, keep it nice, keep it light, keep it fun. I don't think there is anything wrong with, when I say off timetable, I don't mean kind of just let chaos reign, but to kind of do a bit more creative stuff, to kind of, do sort of, and even if you're not an art teacher or you're not, there are opportunities to kind of bring things in or do something different or do something out of the box, and you'll get some joy out of it as well. And I think that it's I am not the world's most creative person, but I do find, when I find something on Pinterest or when I sort of think, like I've seen teachers who are doing in fact, the teacher I covered for the other day at my old school, they're doing Christmas cards, but they're stitched on the front. So they've drawn the design and then they're kind of going over it in really nice thread. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I like that. I wouldn't have thought to do that. And, would have thought, oh no, giving needles to year threes is a terrible idea. Actually, they're cracking. So, things like that are great.
It's exactly that, isn't it? It's find the joy. And also don't run yourselves into the ground and then not be able to enjoy Christmas to yourself. Like as teachers, I can feel myself doing it. I can feel the hypocriticalness in my voice as I say it. But it's really important that you're kind of looking after yourselves on this rundown. You're getting enough sleep. You're eating that garlic and ginger by the bucket load to keep those heebie-jeebies at bay before you go, because we're that's the worst thing, isn't it? Nobody wants to finish and then go for Christmas and then get ill. So keep yourself strong. Don't forget to look after yourself. Have your vitamin C, have your vitamin D tablets. Like, don't forget to look after yourself and make sure you rest and make sure that you go into the Christmas holidays being able to have the proper break that you deserve.
Absolutely. And just to round up here, a final reminder of those delightful sponsors that we have. We have John Catt Educational, and they still have that discount code for you, JCTTR2425, 20% off across the whole website. Go and have a look. You're guaranteed to find something that will suit you. Treat yourself to the early Christmas present, even if you don't have a significant other. There's no need. You can do it yourself. So go and have a look.
Santa present, they'll want.
Yeah, and as long as it's within budget. And of course,
20% off. How could it not be?
And of course, we've got Parent Kind as well, who are there alongside to represent parent views and our voice championing parental participation in education and school life, something that is much needed at the moment and that we talk about regularly on this show and other shows as well. That whole community in school, we need to bring everybody back together. Let's do it. Let's get there. After us, I believe now, I have no idea how to pronounce this surname. She's called Danielle. I want to say Wally or Wally. I don't know. I'm looking at host chat right now. And so, Danielle, if you are listening in to us before you go on air, I'm truly sorry if I have butchered your surname, but I believe you are over on Podbean starting pretty much now. So Hannah and I are going to scamper off and leave the airwaves open for you. We're going to do this all again next week. And we're also pondering a Christmas quiz for you in a couple of weeks' time. So keep an eye on TTR socials for that and for all the information. I think it'll be good fun. Enjoy Christmas and New Year. Thanks for all you do. Thank you, JBL, for being with us. We truly appreciate you as well. I think that's all we have time for today, Hannah.
It is indeed. Thank you for another lovely one. I look forward to our festive themed show next week.
You've been listening to Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live and listen back at ttradio.org. We look forward to hearing from you next time on Teachers Talk Radio.